showing up to teach 4th grade the day after the Don't Say Gay bill passes through the Florida House.
My favorite anxiety of the day today is that I'm going to have to deal with coming out to my students. I know most of them are just going to assume it already, but for the few that don't, that'll be a fun conversation, if it comes to that. Yeah.
Alright guys, so we have evidence and proof of something happening in classrooms that the left says is made up, that the right's purely making it up, and that the Florida Parents' Rights and Education Bill, or the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, is only being passed because of bigotry, because this stuff is simply not happening in classrooms, that these teachers are not engaging in these conversations about sexual orientation or gender identity in class. They're not doing it. It's made up. So the bill is being passed just to be bigots, right? That's what the Florida legislature is doing here, right? However, again, we have evidence that this stuff actually does happen in classrooms, and these are conversations that teachers are trying to have with kids, because they are trying to push their lifestyles on kids. They want kids to know, this is who I am, this is my lifestyle, and please ask me all the questions that you want about my lifestyle and who I am, because a lot of these people simply want the attention, right? And then they also want to push, their lifestyle on children, right? So that being said, let's go ahead and get into this 4th grade teacher out of California who recorded herself on TikTok for whatever reason. I don't know why she did this. Recorded herself coming out as trans to her kids. And I want you guys to pay attention to how these kids react to her coming out. Take a look.
Kids coming out as trans.
That means it's a teacher that's kind of not a guy and not a girl, like somewhere in between.
Oh, so you're kind of boy and you're kind of girl?
Kinda, yeah.
Me too, that's me.
Okay, right on.
I want to be a boy, but I don't like being a girl.
You know what? You have choices in this world to be all sorts of different things. But that's why it's MX. So Mix Chavez, that's where that comes from. I know some of you were a little confused. Some of you came and talked to me about it. What?
Is it technically like a tomboy? Is that what it is? Like a girl that like acts or dresses like a boy?
Some people do identify that way. I'm actually trans, so I'm not a tomboy. I'm trans. But some people do, and I'm sure if they wanted to, they could also go by Mix in their classroom. Any other questions? Do you have any other questions, or can we move on? All right.
Yeah, so those are the exact conversations that I don't think should be happening in classrooms, in my opinion. And one of the reasons why is, again, because a lot of these kids, man, they simply don't know, right? You heard one of the kids in the background when she came out was like, oh, I'm kind of a boy, kind of girl too. I want to be a boy, but I don't like being a girl, right? I think that's what one of the kids said, okay? And it's like, yeah, this is how you influence children. This is how you influence kids, right? When you have a teacher that is openly like, hey, I'm not a boy nor a girl, I'm non-binary, I'm this, I'm that. What happens is that these kids start asking questions, and then they start having these conversations, and these conversations extend outside of just the classroom, okay? They go home to their parents and start asking questions. They start looking into this stuff, and then they start to think that, hey, this is me, right? I'm going to now become, non-binary or trans or whatever, right? Because a lot of these kids, they think it's a game, okay? They think that it's something that's trendy to do. It's the cool thing to do. And that's why you're seeing polls that are showing that with each generation, now we have Gen Z, 1 in 5 people in Gen Z identify as LGBTQ. Well, again, the reason why is because a lot of this stuff has been normalized at a young age. It's been pushed on them at a young age. This is why those people that tend to be younger tend to be more influenced by this stuff, because they've been exposed to it at an earlier age, right? And it's something that is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, because you have teachers like this that are infiltrating these classrooms, and they're just flat out pushing their gender ideology on children, right? That's what they're doing. Now, another part about this conversation I found to be funny is that one of the students asked, was she a tomboy, right? And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what this person is. They're a tomboy, because a whole lot of these non-binary people, right, that come out and say, hey, you know, I'm not a boy or a girl, they're simply girls that have masculine features or that have masculine tendencies and traits, right? But because we live in a society where everybody wants a special label, everybody wants to be something special, right? They have to call themselves, you know, non-binary or some other gender thing, whatever, right? Whatever's the cool thing to say, okay? But that kid was smart enough to know, like, what is the difference between this and being a tomboy, right? What's the difference? You're still biologically a woman, and you just want to act like a dude, right? Don't we already have a label for that? Don't we already have a label for that? Man, I'm telling you, we got to make tomboys great again, right? That's what she do. Make tomboys great again. But this teacher, apparently, this conversation, like I was telling you guys, extended outside of the classroom, right? Somebody probably got wind of it. Some parent probably got wind of it, because allegedly this teacher got fired or relieved from their substitute teacher position after the school found out that they had this conversation with their students. Take a look.
Yep, and then there's that part. It's not illegal here in California. It's supposedly very protected, but I mean, they discontinued my sub position at that school after that conversation, so they didn't say as much, but I just wasn't invited back, even though the teacher requested the sub stay the same and she extended her, you know, absence. So unfortunately, these are still like taboo subjects in a lot of communities, and it's fucked up because it really does keep kids like sheltered from experiences that could be really validating and at least like be a window into another, you know, set of experiences or perspectives or etc. So it's messed up. It's really messed up that adult ignorance is, you know, gets to mess up access for like vulnerable children.
You know, I'm very curious as to what do these people define as vulnerable children when it comes to this subject, right? Like, these people really believe in their heads that there are kids out there that are 6, 7, 8 years old that actually can grasp these concepts that they're trying to present to them. Okay, they actually really believe that, you know, 6, 7-year-olds can, you know, identify as, you know, a man or a woman or non-binary or transsexual, whatever, right? They actually really do believe that. And I'm like, how can you believe that, right? How can you take seriously what any fourth grader says, right? Especially when it comes to a subject like that. But again, they take any little sign that these kids may grow up to, you know, be a part of their community. They take that as, hey, they're definitely a part of the community, right? They're definitely going to be LGBTQ. So therefore, we have to drill it in their heads, right? Otherwise, if you don't, they're vulnerable, okay? And they need to be exposed to it, okay? And it's like, no, that's not how it works. I have no issues with people being educated on this stuff, but they can wait until they're at the very least in high school, right? At the very least in high school, okay? If not, hey, they can learn about it in college or, you know, they can learn about it in the real world somewhere, okay? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, okay? Because if somebody truly does feel that way, when they're like, okay, I'm, you know, not my assigned sex or whatever, they'll have those feelings, and when they turn 18, they can decide what they want to do, right? I don't think it's that big of an issue to simply wait till these kids are old enough to be sure that they want to go through, you know, these types of transformations, right? But again, this teacher got fired, and the reason why this teacher got fired, or put it this way, she didn't get called back, is because parents don't approve of this stuff, right? Obviously, what she was doing in school was wrong, okay? You can't be sitting in class talking to kids, fourth graders, about, oh, you know, I'm not a boy or a girl, I'm non-binary, you know, basically going through your gender ideology with them. That ain't gonna cut it, right? That ain't gonna be okay, right? A lot of parents are not gonna be okay with that. So you don't need to blame the school, you don't need to blame society, you need to blame yourself, because you had no business having that conversation in the first place. You really should just come in there, choose what you're gonna be. You're a Mr. or a Mrs. Preferably you say that you're a Mrs. and say, hey, I'm Mrs. such and such and such. Let's focus on teaching instead of focusing on your pronouns. And then on top of that, you recorded the conversation, right? You recorded it. You put out evidence that this is the conversation that you had with your kids, right? Again, these teachers, they want to boo-hoo, whine, and complain when they have to face the consequences for something that they bought on themselves, right? Because you recorded it. You put evidence out there that you had this conversation. Again, I don't understand why you do this. Why do you engage in this stuff? But a lot of these people engage in it simply because they want attention, right? And I don't understand for the life of me, why do some of these people want to be validated by children, right? Why do you feel the need to be validated by children so much? To the point where you are putting your career and your job at risk simply for likes and admiration from kids. I really don't understand. I really don't get it. But with that being said, yeah, proof, evidence that this stuff is happening in school, right? The left says it doesn't exist, but it definitely does exist, and this is why you definitely need bills like the bill that is being passed in Florida to prevent these conversations from happening, because quite honestly, they're unnecessary, and they're a distraction from what kids should actually be talking about in school. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.